Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Bryce, and I am the VP of Programming here at the AMA Phoenix, and welcome. We are really thrilled to have you here joining us, and we are thrilled to welcome Cheryl James to this presentation where customer experience and customer loyalty intersect. So before we get started, I'm just going to do a couple of quick announcements, and then we will get right to Cheryl. First, I would like to thank our sponsors. We are able to do what we do because of the long relationship we have with our sponsors. I would particularly like to point out, because they're on the line here, April from Made Better Studio, and so she's our website expert extraordinaire on the AMA board as well. And then Financial Potion and Taylor Wellman, who is our host at all of our webinar events. So if you need video, things like that done, hosting events like this, please consider giving Taylor a call. And if you need her contact information, I can get it to you. And then we would like to thank our board members. We have a really terrific group of people, and everybody works super hard. Again, what it takes to bring the AMA together, it's our board members, and we really thank them for the hard work that they do. And then I think that's it for now for announcements. One thing I do want to say is I always like to welcome our Spectrum Award winners who attend our events. If we were in person, I would point them out. So ones that are registered here today are Shasta Pools, Kara and Lisa are joining us. Shasta Pools won a couple of awards. Trying to remember, I think it was 2 awards, 2 or 3, I can't remember, but they won some awards. Congratulations. And also Prism Global Marketing Solutions. They won multiple awards as well. So welcome to our Spectrum Award winners. And let's just get started. I would like to introduce Cheryl James, and we are thrilled to have her with us today. It's a very important topic, customer experience and customer loyalty. So we're looking forward to Cheryl's presentation. Cheryl James is a technical solutions and systems professional servicing Fortune 100 companies for the past 25 years. And she is motivated by a desire to help small business owners succeed and develop a corporate level customer experience. And she's going to help all of us piece all of this together. So Cheryl, welcome. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. So again, thank you so much for having me today. Customer experience and customer loyalty intersection. I must say, this is what I do. This is what I'm so passionate about. So I'm so excited to be here. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about customer loyalty. What is it? Oftentimes people ask me, what does customer loyalty mean and why should it matter to them? And a couple of things that we're going to talk about today is the difference between customer loyalty and customer experience and how they intersect. But basically, customer loyalty is when you think about your customers and why they choose you over anyone else. One fact that I like to mention is that people will become loyal to you, drive further, spend more if they have a positive experience. So when you think about that intersection, think about the fact that to breed loyal customers, you have to create a positive customer experience. People are really tied to the emotion of a purchase. Cheryl, regardless if it's a small purchase or a big purchase, they're tied to that emotion that goes
Cheryl.
along with it. So this is the slide that I was originally speaking to about customer loyalty and the emotional experience of it all. So I won't rehash all of that. I'll just continue to go forward. So why customer loyalty is key? Cheaper than acquiring new customers. This is a fact that I always say to my clients, because most of the time in most businesses, you are focused on getting new customers. It's always a chase to acquire new customers. So people are doing social media posts. People are out there advertising. They're spending a significant amount of time acquiring new customers. But if you create loyal customers, it's much cheaper than the acquisition effort. You have a better return on investment. Loyal customers are likely to spend more than new customers. Why? Because you've proven yourself to them. You've proven that your product, your service, your experience is superior to what they can get in other places. The customer acquisition process. Satisfied customers, happy, loyal customers will tell everyone in their network about you. And that's an important fact. You want that. A fact or a quote that Walt Disney always has said is the fact that a happy customer, someone who has a positive experience, will tell everyone they know and bring them back with them. So that's something that as a business owner, we want to think about. If every person who purchased something from you brought in one person, just imagine how your business would scale. Insight. This is often a mistake that a lot of small businesses make, is not paying attention to your customers, not listening to them, not understanding their pain points. So you miss that valuable insight that you don't have to pay for. This is information that your customers will give you for free. The competitive advantage. If you have an existing relationship with your customers, again, they will be loyal to you. But I want to talk a minute just about that competitive advantage. Oftentimes we think our competition is only people who do the same type of product or service that we offer, but that is truly not the case. Our competition is everyone that customer works with. And you say, why is that? Basically, the competition are the people who give a better experience. So it's the competition about experience. So you want to make sure that you are exceeding people's expectations, because people's expectations are set by their ecosystem. Some facts and stats. The probability of selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70%. So think about those loyal customers versus new prospects, 5 to 20%. Oftentimes we are spending our time on the wrong activities. It costs more time to acquire new customers. So again, retention of your customer is key, but it requires you to focus and shift your mindset to nurturing those relationships with customers as opposed to reintroducing yourself repeatedly. Customer retention is much higher, and you will be more profitable with more loyal customers. The majority of your revenue is going to come from your existing customers. And I always like to focus on that for a minute and just give you an analogy there. When you think about it, quite often, when people buy a car, if they're truly getting the car that they love, they tend to stick with that brand, that manufacturer. So their repeat business is what makes more money for the customer, not the acquisition of new clients. Unhappy customers will not do business with you again. Here's the problem with this fact. Most of the time, we don't know they're unhappy. And why don't we know they're unhappy? Because we don't ask them. It's a very one-sided relationship in most cases, where the customer comes to us, we perform a product or service, and the customer walks away. And we never say, how did we do? How was your experience? Oftentimes when customers do provide us feedback, it can be missed, especially if people aren't paying attention to social media or emails, or it can be managed offensively. Like, we get very defensive, because I always say, when someone calls your baby ugly, you get very upset about it. So when customers give us feedback, we have to be open so that we can retain that business. 26, customers who don't say anything. It's just like I was just saying, you lose those customers. What we have to do is have systems and automation in place, so that after a customer does business with you, you have a way to close that loop and say, how was it? And if they don't respond, or if they don't purchase again in a defined period of time, go back and ask them, what could we have done differently? Customer experience. This is a really key point when we think about the intersection here. The experience is every interaction that a customer has with you. And I always say that the experience starts before they become your customer. The experience starts when they walk into your store, when they go on your website, when they follow you on social media. That is when the experience starts. Oftentimes, if a customer does not have a good experience at the initial interaction, we don't get an opportunity to revisit that with them. So when you think about the customer experience, think more about nurturing, creating relationships, taking feedback, and think about the emotional component of working with a customer. When you think about times when you, as a consumer, have made a purchase, you often remember the experience, the feeling. You'll say, when I go into this boutique, I always feel this way. Or when you put on something that you've purchased, you remember how you felt when you purchased that item. That goes directly to the customer experience. Let's talk about why customers leave. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the experience. They just walk away. They're not impressed, or they don't need your product or service anymore. Sometimes it's about distance. They move away, so they're no longer in the area. Then we talk about competition. 14% are lured away by the competitors. So that means someone else is offering a better, cheaper, quality product, or the experience can be better at the competitor. 14% not happy with the product. Sometimes it's nothing we can do about that, because not everyone is designed to be our customer. But look at that, 70+% leave because they were unhappy with the way they were treated. If we don't close the feedback loop, we lose 70% of our customers, and we never know why. Because not everyone calls and complains. Not everyone does a mean social media post. Not everyone emails. Sometimes, even if you have a brick and mortar location, sometimes they don't even come in and tell you what went wrong. But we have to solicit that information as business owners. We have to try to get as much insight as we can from these customers, even the unhappy ones, so that we can nurture the loyal customers and create a more positive experience. Let's talk about how to keep our customers coming back. Continuous improvement. Don't create a customer experience journey, write it down, put it on the shelf, and never revisit it. It is an iterative process. You have to be mindful of how you treat your customers as the environment changes. Think about how many businesses had to pivot because of pandemic. We have to have continuous improvement, and we have to be willing to pivot at any time. The level of consistency you provide in your business. If people find that if they come into your store on Monday, it's great. On Thursday, it's not so great. If you order on a weekend, you don't get a response. But if you order on a Wednesday, everything's perfect. That lack of consistency will drive people away. They are looking to have a Amazon type experience 100% of the time. Teamwork. And I find this is especially important, not only in big business, but in small business. You have to have your team align with you. They need to understand the goals and values of the company and ensure that they have bought in to the customer experience journey that you want to deliver to your customers. Analysis of data. This is where a lot of information comes into play around social media posts, looking at feedback like satisfaction surveys, understanding what people are feeling, what are their pain points, and ensuring that you loop that back into your continuous improvement cycle. Employee training. This goes into that customer experience journey. It's important for you to say to your employees, when a customer does business with us, I want them to walk away with this specific feeling. You could say, I want them to be in awe every time. I want them to feel loved. I want them to feel known. I want them to feel like we remember what they like every time. Your employees need to be trained on those values so that they don't end up treating your customers just as another transaction. So let's talk about how to be great at the customer service piece. Be attentive and available. So attentive and available mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but when it comes to your customer, they expect someone from your organization to be able to be attentive, be available, respond via emails, calls, social media. We have to ensure that that's happening because oftentimes the first interaction is someone maybe asking for a quote. They could just simply be asking, what are your business hours? But if no one gets back to them, you've lost a prospective client before you've had a chance to even show them your product or service. Patience. This is a big one. We sometimes are so focused on delivering the product or service that we're short or impatient with our clients. We have to make ourselves available again and have a listening ear to understand their pain point. Because when you think about it, if you boil it all down to a single denominator, it's the fact that the customer is the reason why you're in business. And without them, there is no business. Communicate often and clearly. This one is often misunderstood. Oftentimes, businesses send out communications just when they're having a sale or they're having a promotion. They're not communicating with their customers to build a relationship. And that's what breeds customer loyalty. If your customers feel like you remember what they purchased, or if they feel like you're communicating with them out of a place of authenticity, they will be very loyal to you. Display a pleasant atmosphere. Whether you have a website or you have a brick and mortar location, it is so important for your customers to feel comfortable, to feel welcomed. And on top of that, for it to be easy for them to do business with you. Have you ever gone on a website and you're looking around, you can't find a shopping cart, you can't find how to check out, you can't figure out where you put your credit card in? You're not likely to do business with that company again. If it's not super easy and simple, And 90% of the time, especially now, especially with millennials, if they can't do it on their phone, it probably won't get done. So that's, you have to know your audience. We're stuck. I'm stuck. Here we go. Respond quickly and effectively. I always talk here, especially about social media posts. Oftentimes, people will post comments on social media. Many business owners don't go on social media. They don't track it. They don't monitor those posts or those reviews. My recommendation is always to acknowledge on that platform and then take it offline. It is not for you to prove your point. It is not for you to go back and forth with the customer. Acknowledge. Acknowledgement is key because it helps other prospective customers see that you are responding. Fix mistakes and solve problems. This goes back to our previous slide where we talked about that continuous improvement. If someone brings you feedback, if something is not going right, fix it, solve it. If your team needs training, train them. If it's an automation problem, fix that. But those are the things when people bring issues to you, if they see you fixing them, they see you resolving the problems, and they see you closing the loop with them, sometimes you breed clients that are loyal for life. And this is where I talk about that Amazon-like experience. And I'm going to be honest, Amazon is everybody's competitor because everyone is on Amazon Prime and you're getting everything that you need in 2 days or less. When you go back to a customer and say, oh, it's going to take 10 weeks to deliver that, they're comparing it in their mind to Amazon. Everybody wants to know, why can't you do it faster? So make sure you go the extra mile to ensure that your customers know timelines, understand expectations, there's no gaps in the communication, and that you're delivering your product or service as quickly, effectively, and your process is optimized. Put your customer first. Quite honestly, a lot of businesses forget about the customer. They focus on the product. And they just expect if they build it, the customers will come. Everything we need to do to make loyal customers is putting ourselves in the consumer's shoes, understanding their pain point, understanding how we solve for that, and making their life easier. So we always have to take every decision, every plan, and say, how will my customer feel about this? Okay, just because I want to make sure everyone's awake and not sleep after a long day at work, I built in this little group exercise. So I'm going to read this, and then we're going to separate you out into breakout rooms. But essentially, here we have sparkling cleaning service. Amanda opened sparkling cleaning service 3 years ago, and she has a pretty steady clientele. Most of her business comes from referrals, but she realizes that she needs to invest in marketing to get the clientele that will pay for her specialized services, which includes organic products, pet-friendly deep cleaning, and restaurant business COVID-19 cleaning. She has a very clear website and a detailed estimate and onboarding process. One of her loyal customers refers her to 2 friends who are not impressed with her service. They have sent emails and posted comments on social media. Amanda is clueless on what to do or how to respond. She doesn't want this to impact her reputation and cause her to lose her existing clients. What I'd like for you to do in your small groups is come back with 5 strategies based on the things that we've talked about she could use to preserve her reputation, customer loyalty, and experience. And Ms. Taylor is going to help us get you into groups, and we're going to give you about 8 minutes to put that together.
All right, so you're going to be seeing here in one moment to join a group. Just simply click on join, and then I will give you a warning when you've had about half of your time. So that will give you the idea to start jotting it down. So as soon as you get into your room, there will be 3 rooms. Assign a secretary, assign a recorder, assign someone who's going to be jotting down these 5 strategies. All right, let's have some fun. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope that was some fun.
Yes, that was fun.
Super fun.
It was, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll pass it back to Cheryl to continue on and wrap us up.
I
So I'd
love the
like to-
cat.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry.
The cat.
Oh, the cat.
Yes.
So I'd like to just spend just a minute or two getting a couple points from the various groups. So I know Taylor instructed us to have a recorder for each group. Who wants to go? Oh, Post-its. I love Post-its. So April, do you want to go first?
I totally love to go first. So are you ready for this?
We're ready.
Your Post-its match your tie-dye shirt.
You like it? Including gold marker, because we're
Ooh.
kind of office supply nerds over here. So, okay, so we'll start from the bottom first, because that would kind of like, well, like first she should do this, and then she's got to do this, and then from there. So it starts us out as a story. So, reply to emails. Just give them a good reply as far as like I'm so sorry to hear that you're not happy with our service. If you would be interested, we'd like to invite you like into our, because there's only 2 of them, into our offices to have a quick discussion about what this would work, or maybe a Zoom call if that's more convenient for you. Like get a way to like have face-to-face conversations with them. And then I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. Respond to social media, respond to social media and then take offline. So that's your take offline approach.
Mhm.
We had that too.
And then prefer over phone, in Zoom, or in person. Listen to ways to make better, address needs.
Awesome.
And then we had, and then Karen piped up with this, but that feedback that they received from those interviews needs to be made into actual changes in the business. Like it can't be just like, well, that's great that all of our customers hate us, but we don't care because we're so into our business that we're going to make it for us.
We don't care. We're so into going out of business that we're going to not do anything.
Right. So, and so the last one is show that you solve the problem, and you could do this privately to those people, but like, hey, we heard you. We really want to like make it right. Like, here's what we're going to do for you. And then also maybe publicly, like if there's stuff that they've realized that like the COVID, carpet cleaning shenanigans stuff stains some types of carpet. Now they know. Now they can get a different solution involved, and then can actually publicly report that through like an email newsletter or like a blog that makes its way into the email newsletter about like, hey, we heard you. So you're publicly acknowledging like, this wasn't that great, but we heard you and we made this improvement. And then
That is
that's
awesome.
the end.
Thank you, April and her team. Thank you. I think that was great.
I had an awesome team.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go. To add to some of the things April said, because we obviously think you have to acknowledge the problem in the same platform, but then you do want to continue the conversation offline so you can really service the person versus you each typing back and forth to each other. Maybe you limit it to 2 exchanges and then take it offline. One thing our group said, we really want to make them understand that we are in marketing. We want to understand the issues. We want to listen and we want to improve. So really make them feel, and again, you have to be authentic in that.
Absolutely.
we want to get to the point where what kind of agreement can we come to that works for both of us that would make the unhappy customer happy. Although we do have to keep in mind it has to be within realistic limitations and things that our company can actually do. So being unrealistic and then failing again is not going to help the situation. And then lastly, involve them in the solution, especially if we can't solve it 100%. Again, getting to that realistic limitation situation. Involve them in the solution. Ask them, would they be willing to help us as we try to, solve this? Because sometimes it's a matter of, them knowing for sure that you listened to them. And especially if you involve them, you have listened.
Awesome. Awesome. I love the fact that you talked about what if you can't solve it completely, because everything is not easily solvable. Sometimes you do need to brainstorm. So I love that you're including the customer in the solution. Trevor, I think you're last.
So for our group, we certainly had a lot of tie-in to the other groups in terms of interaction, listening to the customer. We wanted to have a person-to-person call, possibly offer a gift, something to get their attention, to really engage with them. Identify their concerns, try and identify what's the specific issue so we can solve for that. Ask a couple of key questions. Where did we go wrong? How could we serve you better? And then another major thing was identifying the expectations, because if you are solving for one thing, but their expectation is for something different, then you would be solving the wrong problem.
You assumed you knew what was wrong rather than actually listen to what was really wrong.
Right. Those were great ones. Yeah, those were. So between the three groups, I think we really solved a lot.
We saved Amanda's business. So
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you all.
Just to come back for a review source, 5-minute bullet point, we can do that too. Which makes me wonder, like, what if we turned into, here's a little bit of thing, what if we turn these into maybe one time a quarter or something, do more of a think tank experiment like this, where we go into a business and we're like, hey, you've got a marketing business problem, like sum it up to us, and then we can try to find you a couple of solutions during our
Yeah.
But that'd be
Absolutely
fun.
great idea.
Thank you. Now my circuits are really firing.
Yes, exactly.
Like to keep you on your toes, not sleeping and multitasking in the background.
That was a great exercise, Cheryl. Thank you.
Awesome. So I know we only have 10 more minutes and I want to leave time for questions. I have a couple more slides, but it's really to just kind of hone in and make sure you've gotten the material. But based on the group exercise, I feel like you guys have a very good concept. So I want to just maybe take some questions. I don't know, Taylor, if you're ready, I could take some questions now.
All right. Yes, let's go for it. So first question was actually, what was the source for your customer loyalty facts and stats?
A lot of my information comes from Forrester. I
Great.
use a lot of Forrester information to really understand what's happening in the environment across industries. Now, when I'm working with clients, of course, I get very industry specific, but these were some very generic specs.
Excellent. Thank you. And then what are some of the best ways to get customer feedback?
So there's a number of things you can do. I think someone mentioned it in my group, I think it was Nancy. When you're making a purchase or selling something to a customer, especially if it's face-to-face, it's one-on-one, ask for feedback at that time. Ask them. That's the best way to do it. The other thing I want to point out, because this is often missed, is if you can do, it's so many tools out there, do some type of survey, email, something where you connect with that person. Because what happens is, even if you ask them for feedback at the time of purchase, their experience with you is not done. They could have many, many more meetings with you. They could have returned the product. Maybe the product didn't work. But if you're not asking them, often the rule of thumb is ask 5 days, 30 days, 60 days. Because that 60-day period, the experience might have really gone off the track, and they have different feedback. And this is why that customer journey map is so important, because when you think about everything that happens from the time a customer says hello to the time that they utilize your product or service, to the time that they get any benefit from the product or service, each step in that process can break. And if you're not asking the question, you'll never know that you need to resolve problems in your process.
This is awesome.
That's great.
Excellent. So I have another question along those lines is, should we be asking feedback from everyone? I'm thinking your answer is yes, or should it just be the ones that are unhappy?
No, I think you should ask feedback from everyone, because the happy ones tell you what you do well. The unhappy ones,
great testimonial fodder.
Exactly. The happy people are the people you continue to nurture and you love on them. The unhappy people is where you focus your attention, because you need to turn them into happy people.
Well, and the happy people may uncover something for you that you didn't realize that you can put more of a focus on as well.
Right.
And oftentimes your happy people are the ones who want to talk to you anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So make sure you talk to them, because they'll spend time and effort telling you either how great you are or that you're great, except in this area. Gather that information.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Eileen and I have a client that we've gotten a lot of great information from the happy customers of the clients, and they're willing to continue to talk.
Exactly.
April, your hand's up. Do you want to go ahead and ask a question?
Love it. Thank you. Waiting my turn. Trying to anyways, excited over here. So building in the feedback loops, you kind of mentioned that 5 days, 30 days, and 60 days after purchase, or then you had some like really cool milestones. Can you just do that one more time? That cool.
Yeah,
thing
it's definitely the 5 days. You want to, well, for one, you want to ask feedback at time of purchase.
Time of purchase.
Time of purchase. Then you check in on them at 5 days. Then you check in on them again at 30 days and at 60 days. And make sure when you're doing these check-ins, you're making it very, very personalized. You want to say, hey, the last time we talked on September 5th, you were doing great. I just want to make sure you're still enjoying your purchase. The personalization, even if you do it via automation, I'm not suggesting that you sit there and manually write these each time, but the personalization makes a customer feel like you care.
Because you cared enough to pay attention to what you did.
Exactly. And that's important. And it has to be authentic. It has to be in your voice. It has to make them feel like you did sit and manually type an email to them to ask them how they were doing, because you're genuinely concerned. You want to know, are they happy? Are they sad? What can we do to make it better?
Yeah, great.
Awesome. I do have another question here, if we want to just pop it out there. What do you think is the number one problem companies have in delivering a great customer experience?
That they don't define their customer experience. That's always an easy question. They do not define it. In most companies, the customer experience just happens. They haven't figured out what they want their customers to feel like. So whatever happens, happens. And that is the biggest challenge. If you define it, if everyone in the organization buys in on it, if your employees are trained on it, it's more likely to happen. I tell a lot of my clients that always say, I have a customer service issue. I need more people. And my response is, you have a customer experience issue. If you solve your customer experience issue, you don't need more customer service people.
That is, that's like the clincher of the whole talk, is that they don't define it. And Trevor has posted, consider checking out ASU's service blueprinting course, process map and define the customer experience.
Oh,
Wow,
wow.
Yeah,
that's great.
it is a good system. I've actually done that, the blueprinting. It's like, wow.
Really?
I do that with a number of my customers who say they have a customer service issue, and we take them and we blueprint out every step of the customer experience journey. We say, how do you want people to feel when they come in the door? What do you want it to smell like? What do you want them to think about? Is your
That's your
website talking
business
to your
as a-
target audience? All those things.
Absolutely.
It's
Sorry.
all those things. You have to know who you're talking to. And I tell customers all the time, if you don't know who your target audience is, your delivery is off, your messaging is off, your marketing is off, you're talking to no one.
Right. Okay, yeah, very good. I think what I'll do is that link that Trevor just, I'm just going to pop everyone a quick email when I hang up.
It looks like we have one other hand raised. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, feel free to ask your question. We'll make this the last question. If you have any other questions, Cheryl, would you mind maybe jotting down your information in the chat so people could reach out to you if there's
Absolutely.
might have?
Okay, I think I'm the only one calling in from Africa here, and
Ah,
that sounds quite interesting. Okay, I have a question, and it's directed towards a service-based organization now, for instance. And now, how do you define the customer experience for a service-based operation? Now, I'm not selling a product to you where I'll have to call you, and then try to follow up on you on how the product was, how you're enjoying your products and all of that. But this is a service I rendered. Say, take for instance, I did a graphic design, or I delivered on a human resource service for you. Maybe I did a handbook, whatever. So how do you define the customer experience at that point? Because sometimes you render the service and the customers just go, and then they don't get to tell you this is what happened. And I get it that the feedback comes from you. You get to ask the questions. But at this point, how do you define what you want them to feel at the end of the day? I think that's just basically it.
That's a great question. Honestly, the process for service-based businesses is not different from product-based businesses. You need to define every interaction. So however you interact with your customer, if they come to your website, if they send you an email, if you get on the phone and have a conversation with them, even if it's a service, that service has a defined purpose. So if you did a handbook, you want to come back to them 5, 30, 60 days. Have you received any feedback on the handbook? Is it serving the purpose that we discussed? Do you need any changes? So I think it's the same process, regardless of your product or service. You want to define that journey to say, I want to make sure that this customer knows that I understand their need, how I'm going to fulfill that need, and I care about them telling me if their needs were met. It's always the same. You want to make them feel like your sole purpose is making their lives easier.
Wow, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
okay.
Down today.
I think we will wrap this up then. This was a lot of fun, Cheryl, and I think it got everybody's juices rolling, going, and thought process really in action. So thank you. But thank you so much for your presentation. Really terrific. And again, it's a great reminder for people that we've got to put customer experience at the center of all of our businesses, no matter what our products or services are. We all are similar in that we must provide an exceptional customer experience. So thank you very much for your presentation. It was awesome. And again, I came away with some really key points. When Cheryl said Amazon, like, I've been hearing that from a lot of different companies. They've set an expectation for everybody. We want things as fast. We want people to know what we need. We just need to really be thinking along that way. Customer first, right? Or customer focused. We need to be thinking about their pain points, not ours, theirs. And the clincher that you must define the customer experience in your processes, in your marketing plan, in your training. If you do that, you're so much ahead of the game. So thank you, Cheryl. We really appreciate it. And like Taylor had said, we'll be able to get the presentation and recording to everybody. So I just want to real quick close it out with the next two events. Our next Lunch with Leaders is in a little less than 2 weeks, October 27th, which is a Wednesday, lunchtime learning. So 11:30 a.m. to 12:30. And we're having Lon Safko speak, and he's going to be talking about fusion marketing, the next generation marketing. That's going to be really an excellent talk. So please consider registering. It will be up on the website, hopefully in the next couple of days, but look out for our emails because it is already on Eventbrite. And then November 11th, we are going to be having Dan Tyre from HubSpot speak. Really excited. He was just texting me during this presentation, not about the presentation. He was texting me about the New York Mets. But we are going to talk about how to finish 2021 strong and make 2022 your best year ever. So we're going to be talking about things like planning and what you need to be thinking about. So that should be a terrific talk. We're really looking forward to that. And then again, I just want to thank our sponsors. Thank you, April, for being with us from Made Better Studio. And then Taylor Wellman, who is always our host. Thank you. She does great video work. I've used her for a couple of things already. Nat has used her. So please consider, if you have video needs, give Taylor a call. And then again, thanking our board, thanking our board members. Again, we just can't thank them enough for all the hard work they do. And everyone, I hope that we see you on October 27th and November 11th, because we have two great talks coming up, and then we will have one last event in December. And then, oh my God, we'll be in year 2022. Hard to believe. Thank you for being with us today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And Cheryl, thank you once again. We really appreciate you taking the time with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Cheryl.
All right.
Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, yo.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.